Welcome to the Past Life Project. I'm Monique, hypnotherapist and regression specialist. Let me bring you into my world where just another day in the office is not your typical desk job. In each episode, we will be delving into the extraordinary realm of past lives through my own therapy practice, client stories and interviews, and conversations with practitioners that are utilizing past lives as a powerful modality for healing. Tune in to find out how people just like you are healing from a range of physical, emotional, and spiritual issues by exploring their previous incarnations. Are you ready to dive into the future of therapy? It's time to turn back time with the Past Life Project. Welcome to the Past Life Project podcast. I'm Monique, hypnotherapist and regression specialist, and I am your host. And today we have an interview with Darnelle, who is hilarious and awesome. And we've had some really great conversations, and I'm really excited to have her on board. Darnelle Parker is an intuitive soul coach, transformational energy healer, and catalyst for deep remembrance. With a gift for weaving together ancestral healing, nervous system recalibration, and radical forgiveness, Darnelle helps awaken souls, both people and animals, transmute pain into power, and embody their divine truth and step into limitless expansion. And I am thrilled that today we're going to be talking about Darnelle's experience in working with both people and animals in their past lives, as well as some of her own personal experiences with this work, which are really intriguing. And I hope you enjoy this conversation. So please, Darnelle, tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in this work, what comes through in your sessions, how it comes through.
Yeah, thank you so much, Monique. I am super excited to be here today, and thank you for the opportunity. And that is an amazing question to ask. So honestly, I actually was able to communicate with animals specifically when I was young. So I can remember back to the age around maybe 4 or 5, where I had a dog, and my dog would tell me or actually show me visual pictures in my mind's eye of like when they would be outside and chasing squirrels and chasing birds, and just the sounds and the visuals I can see. And I thought everybody had that ability. I would go to school. When I started elementary school, I would go to school and I would tell all my friends about how my dog was giving me, I'm calling it messages, but pictures. And my dog was telling me stories, and people were like, not understanding what I was saying. They were like, what is she talking about? She sounds crazy. But so I actually was able to do that for a very long time. And as I continued to tell stories to other kids and other people about it, people would make fun of me. So I actually cut off my abilities on connecting with animals in that way, because I didn't want to feel different or to be different, and I wanted to fit in. And so I decided that I would not allow my animals to, or even other animals in the wilderness, to give me messages or give me signs, but I was so connected to them that I could even still feel them, even though I wasn't getting the visual messages, right? As an example. So early on in my life, that's kind of how I got started. And then I've been very intuitive and been an empath all my life. So I could feel people's emotions. I could see like generational lineages and like lifelines within different families. And so I just never spoke about that. I could just feel it, and I can see different people lineages, whether a family was really a happy family or a family that was very depressed. I can see the lineage throughout those families. at a very early age. And I can feel people emotions. Like if I walk in a room, I can definitely feel like what's going on with every single person in the room. But I never talked about it and I never shared it. Only with my mom because she's also an empath and an intuitive. So we would have a lot of conversations, she and I, but I would not share outside of just having those real conversations with her. So that's kind of how I got started on my journey.
And when did that change for you? When did you start opening up to, I mean, sharing it and working with people in this way?
That's a really good question. So, unfortunately, there was a traumatic accident that I had back in 2012, right? Um, a lot of people who are aligned to like the Mayan calendar, they say that 2012 is like really the end of that time, that space that we were in, the ending of the year, and so we started a new beginning. So I had a traumatic accident where a drunk driver who was driving his car ran my husband and I over and my two dogs while we were walking the dogs. So literally, I was hit by a drunk driver while I was walking. And so, as you probably can imagine, that was so traumatic. And all the things happened, right? Like, the doctors was sharing that I could possibly lose my left leg because of the accident and because my ankle was shattered and my leg was shattered as well. They had to rebuild my ankle and my leg. And so fast forward, I've had 13 surgeries to keep my leg because of what happened to me. So that was a catalyst, right? That was a moment in my life, an awakening, some would say, right? That spirit spoke to me. Even during the accident, I felt like this huge presence, and it felt like Archangel Michael, because I know Archangel Michael is one of my guides. I felt his presence that night, and I heard a voice say, "It's not your time." So it's not your time to go. Um, and so I've heard messages similar to that before in my life, but what they also shared was it's time for you to share your gifts with the world. It's time for you to step out and basically come out of the closet and start to share your gifts with the world. Well, I was still hesitant, as you probably can imagine, right? I was still very hesitant, but I did start to tippy toe out of the closet. And I actually went to school and where I was living in New York, Fellowships of the Spirit is a spiritual prophecy school, a mediumship school that teaches you how to really tap into your gifts and to, develop them through an ordained ship. And so I'm an ordained minister, have gotten a certification through that program. And then it was just like a rolling ball from there, right? So I became a Reiki master. I've done theta healing. I'm certified in theta healing. I'm also certified in sound therapy, sound bath, sound bowl therapy. And so I just jumped into what I would say metaphysics and holistic healing, because I knew that I had something to share with the world, but I was also wanting to heal myself, right? Because of the trauma that I experienced. And I knew holistic health would help me get where I needed to be to help me, just really grow from this experience.
Isn't that interesting that so many of us start this path by this desire to heal ourselves and to be going through this hard time and coming out the other side and really kind of modeling and embodying that experience? I often find that the things that are hardest for us in our lifetime that are just the thing that we are called upon to teach and share to the world.
Exactly. Yes. So it's been a journey, right? As you can imagine, like just because having that type of experience, I went through like a dark night of the soul. I was, questioning my existence. When I was actually in the hospital for 3 months, and the pain was so severe, I didn't even want to live. Like I went through so much of the emotional turmoil during that time. But the thing that really stood out to me, and it was like a pivotal moment, was when I would go to physical therapy inside of the hospital I was at the time. And I noticed that other people that were also in physical therapy, they also had whatever their traumas were, right? But it was their attitude about that experience that they had at the time. So there's one particular guy who actually had broken his neck and he was paralyzed, like from his neck down. And he was the most cheerful guy. He was like cracking jokes every day. He was so fun. I just like was like, how is it that his attitude is contagious and amazing, right? Like this man could barely even move his neck, right? And so I was like, I want to model myself after him. I want to like scoop up what he's giving out, right? Like that joy that he's giving. And then I also noticed a young lady who had a traumatic experience as well. And her response was more like sadness and depression. And what I noticed between the two is that her symptoms and her experience was declining, and the guy that was like super happy and joyful and cracking jokes all the time, his life was improving, and he was starting to get his nerves were starting to repair, and he was getting feeling back in different extremities within his body. And I was like, that was an aha and light bulb moment for me, right? Because it showed me that it's your attitude and your perspective and how you feel about where you are in the moment and being present to bring joy, and joy will heal your body, right? Happiness, right? There's science behind the mindset about being happy and having joy and having a positive mind that will also heal your body. And so I adopted his framework around his mindset, and I started to heal as a person a lot quicker. I mean, a lot of the doctors were saying that they were saying at that time that I was a miracle. Like, she's a miracle. She's a miracle. How is it that, she's been able to recover as quickly as she has? And a part of it for me also was the fact that I started to visualize myself walking, right? So I did a lot of visualization. I started to see myself walking. I started to see myself, walking down an aisle, because at that time I was engaged and I was in the process of getting married. And I just started to visualize my life as I wanted it to be, starting to encompass that version of me now for the future version that I know I was going to be.
There can be a tendency in this work, and even you were talking about going through your dark night of the soul and, going through all of the nitty gritty stuff. And there can be a point where I don't know, you almost get like addicted and hooked into digging in and pulling up the stuff, and that you forget that it's not all about the releasing, but the bringing in the joy, that is such an important factor in that healing experience.
Yeah, and the other thing, what it taught me was that we are the leaders of our lives, right? Like, you're the CEO of your life, basically. And you can create the version of your life that you want by, doing all the physical things, but then also doing the mindset work, right? And that's really, really important. And for me, it was like I didn't want people to feel that, like, I wanted to be an example of what possibility is, right? So I want people to learn from my story that because of whatever you're going through and whatever your experience, that you can also heal and grow from whatever you're dealing with in the moment, right? So I want to be that person that brings joy, and to let you know that whatever's inside of me is also inside of you. And if I am able to tap into it, you are able to tap into it as well.
So tell me, when did the past lives start coming through in your session? And I'm really curious too about the animal past lives. We were talking a bit off recording about. I find it so intriguing because I've worked with human clients that have had past lives in animals, but I have never worked with animals that have had past lives as, I don't know, other humans, other animals, other galaxies? Like, I'm really curious to see how did that just all come into your awareness?
Yeah, so once I started to tap back into my abilities, my intuitive abilities, the animals started talking to me again. Or let me just say, I opened myself back up to hear what they had to say because they've always been talking to me. It's just I cut it off. So during my experience in school, what I started to hear was like nature. And part of our training was to go out in nature and talk and listen to animals and hear what Mother Earth had to share with us. And so it was just like a rush that came in. They were like, finally, she's, back open again. And we have so much to share with her. And so what I found is that the animals just gravitate towards me. And it was easy for me to tap in and talk to animals. And so I opened up my practice initially as just working with animals because it just came so natural for me. And a lot of people just started gravitating to me and bringing their animals to me because I'm able to bridge that, conversation. I'm the voice to the voiceless, right? I'm able to bring that conversation from the animals to their, pet parents to be able to help them with whatever they're going through, as an example. And so what I learned through just my communication, working with my clients and working with the animal clients is that I started to get stories around past lives. And so the animals would start to share what, how they were connected to their pet parent. I'll just say pet parent, how they were connected to their pet parent, not just in this life, but in past lives. And so lives would start to be revealed to me that, there were different roles that these souls shared. So souls will travel from lifetime to lifetime together, right? And so what showed up for me was the animals were telling me, well, oh, she used to be my sister, or we were spouses, or we were siblings. So they started to show me and tell me stories of the past lives and how they were connected. And then my clients would start asking me, well, how are we connected, right? How did we how is it that they're back in my life again? And so most people don't know this, but animals are here to teach us something or help us heal from something, right? And so when they come back into our lives, they're here as master teachers and master healers. And so for them, they have a job to do and they want to help your soul evolve while they're with you. And so a lot of times, one particular story that I have a client who had multiple animals, and she had a big dog, like a golden retriever, and then she had a smaller version of the dog. And the smaller dog was bullying the bigger dog. And so when I tapped in to have a conversation with both of them, the little dog was sharing that the big dog was weak. And I was like, well, where does that stem from? Like, why is your mindset thinking that that dog was weak? And he said, because in my past life, I was a part of the mafia, the Italian mafia. And I was like, really? Tell me more. It is so interesting. And I was like, is this, and I have to sometimes even question, like, am I getting this right? Like, it's like, it just boggles my mind when I hear these stories. So, the dog was sharing that he was a part of the mafia. And I was like, really? And he wouldn't share specifics, but he would say that, his brother, I'm calling him brother for all intents and purposes, his brother was so weak and he didn't like weak, people souls, right? He didn't like weakness. He identified weakness. And so his bullying was to make him be stronger. And I was like, oh, okay, now I understand. So now let's have a conversation around how we evolve your soul to be more accepting of people as they are or animals as they are, because your path and your journey may be to help them have more confidence, but not bullying them into confidence, right? So I had a conversation to say, how can we look at this different, where you can help them be more confident, help your brother be more confident, and give them space to grow versus you pushing him. So helping that dog's soul evolve and helping his brother not feel like he can't be himself, his authentic self, because the other dog was bullying him, right? So does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it's really interesting. I'm kind of laughing because you characterize this like little dog syndrome, right? As the dog
Yes.
thinks they're the big dog. I was like, oh, well, because he had a past life in the mafia. Well, that explains it,
Right. Yeah. I'm like, why are you're like so little. Like your brother could just like sit on you and squash you. Right. Yeah.
right?
But his past life was it was interesting. It's so funny how he shared that. And I was like, am I getting like I even question when I'm getting this information myself. Like, is this real? Because sometimes I have to ask 2 or 3 times and then they'll get frustrated with me because they're like, I'm telling you the truth. Like
Yeah. And I'm curious, what was the outcome with that specific client?
Yeah, yeah. So once I checked back in with my client, um, she said he got better, but he wasn't 100%. So it's a matter of like the soul has a choice, right? So that the little dog, the little mafia dog, he has a choice to his soul has a choice to make whether or not he wants to continue to evolve or he wants to continue to be still at the level that he was at and whether he wanted to grow. But what I did help my client with is like creating space and to also when you recognize that the little dog is starting to, maybe act out of character or starting to show signs of being a bully or being aggressive, then separate them two, right? Separate the dogs and allow them to have separate space. And also tell him that help him understand, like constantly repeating to him to say that your job is to help him grow and to evolve and to have more confidence. And you don't have to continue this theme of being a bully.
Hmm. That's so interesting to see.
Yeah. And so she said there was improvement. There was definitely improvement.
It's like you're giving them the invitation and you can't make them that place, right? But you extend an invitation of this is what it could look like if you choose.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where sometimes pet parents, because as humans, we don't always understand how to communicate with our animals, and we expect them to do the things that we want them to do. Just like if you have children and you're a parent and you're like telling them, like, I want you to do this, this thing that soul has a choice, right? So animals' souls have choices just like human souls because animals can be human, past life humans, and animals this time, and it goes back and forth. Like we can, as souls, make a choice on whether we want to be human or animal. We've been all things, right? Even living on other planets, even a part of like Atlantis and Lemuria and Pleiades and Sirius. Like as souls, we evolve and we grow and we decide to incarnate as whatever form of that physicalness that we want to.
So do you find that those roles shift and change too between the pet parent and the pets, that it's not always, okay, I was always the human and you were the animal? Do you find that the roles have switched or that they were both animals or both humans together? And does it go far back? Have you seen relationships where it goes quite a far way back?
Yeah, I've seen like where like the human and the animal were both humans before and both animals before and switching roles like I've been your animal and you've been my human and vice versa. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting.
And it's really about like the soul's evolution. And when you travel with a soul group, it's a part of like the growth. It's like, what's the theme of those souls that they want to like grow through, right? And so, like my mother, for an example, she's been my sister in a past life before. And so what tends to happen is that those themes will show up in this life. So a lot of times, like people would see us together and say, "Are you guys sisters?" Right? And even though she's my mother, and we communicate like we're sisters because we were sisters before in a past life, as an example. So same with animals, right? Like sometimes you feel like an animal if you're a pet parent. Like I had a client just yesterday who shared with me she recently got a new dog at the beginning of the year, and she said, "This dog does not feel like I'm his mother. I feel like we're siblings." And so when I met and communicated with her dog yesterday, I saw three different themes of their lives, past lives, where actually her and her dog were sisters, and also where they were like brother and sister, like humans, brother and sisters.
I wonder if that's times why an animal will almost like respect one of the humans in the family more, and
Hmm.
the other ones like they're like litter mate. That's kind of curious. I wonder if like they give off that vibe of like, okay, you're the parent, you're the sibling, sort of thing.
So animals don't have to veil like the humans like we do, right? Like they remember the versions of the past lives, right? That and why they came here. So for example, so I had a pet previously, um, when I was younger, and my brother and I, we both had the pet, but the pet was more what I would say closer to me. And my brother was jealous. And so the pet recognized the jealousy in my brother. And so when, as an adult, I also have animals and I had a dog. And that animal, my new dog, when he met my brother, he knew like from a past life because he reincarnated back. He did not want to go anywhere close to my brother because he knew like from soul to soul memory level that my brother didn't like him.
It's interesting to have that with animals because as people, you can definitely feel either that push or pull towards people, and that's really interesting to hear that the animals can feel that too and express. Have you ever had any insight of what it's like to have that memory? Just like you said, that there's not, it's not wiped like we are, that we're not overwhelmed with all these memories. Have you had any insights on kind of what it feels like to come into Earth with this knowledge instead of having to relearn it all again as we do with humans?
I think for what I know for them, it's like when you watch a movie, right? So, like, you can remember the movie, you don't remember every single part of the movie. Or if you're reading a book, like, you remember the theme and you remember, like, the storylines and you'll remember the characters, but you don't remember every single thing. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? Yeah. Like, you know, the overview, you know how you felt, you know, the emotion that was evoked on you, but you don't remember every single thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not overwhelming you with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Really interesting to hear that ability to have that awareness without having to kind of dig into it as we do.
Yeah. So like when you like say if you watched a movie that was a tearjerker, you remember how the movie made you feel, but you don't remember every single thing that was spoken in the movie, right? Like you remember parts of it. And that's kind of how it is for them as well. Like they remember like parts of it and themes of it versus the entire movie, the script.
So after that first client, did you find that more animals started opening up about their past lives to you?
Yeah. So I typically, you know, ask so the protocol is to always ask for permission when working with animals, and I allow them to share what they want to share. And then I also allow the pet parent to ask me questions on whatever they want to ask, right? I don't pry unless I feel like it's okay to pry, right? So I allow them to lead the conversation. And if if they share like, oh yeah, we were in a past life together, then I was like, oh, tell me more about that past life. Like, what's the theme in this life, or what's the journey, or what's the thing that you and the soul of the pet parent need to heal or to grow together. And so I ask questions along that line, because it's more or less not necessarily about the physical form. Is about what that soul's evolution and what that soul needs to learn and grow from between the animal and their pet parent.
So do people come to you seeking specifically for their pet and find out this information this way, or do sometimes they come for themselves and then like their pet interjects and comes into the picture as well too? I'm curious.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So normally people will come for like their pet, like there's a behavior issue, or maybe there's a physical issue. I always refer, like, check with your vet first, make, because I can't give medical advice. And then they'll say, well, I just want to know, like, uh why does, my cat do a certain thing, or why does my dog do a certain thing? And then through my discovery and through the conversation, I'll ask more detailed questions about, like, why do you feel, like, as an example, when there's multiple people in the house, so like say there's a mother and a father and a kid, so animals will absorb what experiences that they're feeling in the home, and a lot of times they will start to show signs of maybe, whatever's being expressed in the home. Like, say there's a teenager that's experienced depression, right? Or there's one of the kids that's really acting out, right? So the animal will start to do physical things to show that there's some dysfunction that's happening in the home. And so I will ask more questions around, why are you like using the bathroom, in the house? Why are you using it on the rug, right? And so they'll start to tell me, like, let's say the teenager is starting to experience something, right? And so, not to give, detailed around specific clients, but just they're acting out, or maybe they're using drugs, or yeah, like there's something that's needs to be addressed, or bring visibility to, so that that animal starts to tell me what's happening in the home.
Okay, that's really interesting. It's almost like they're an emotional barometer for what the climate in the household is like.
Exactly. Yeah. So they will express what's happening, even though they're not expressing it in words, but they are expressing in their actions. And then I'll say, well, what's the lesson that needs to be learned? And as an example, I'm just back to the example I just gave. The animal will say, well, the parents need to be more present, or they're overworking, and they're not really spending time with the children like the children would like, even though the children aren't saying it out loud, they're acting it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So they're showing signs of not being nurtured or being loved. And they'll say, well, the parents need to spend more time. Or maybe there's one parent that's more favorable to another child than the other child. And the other child will say, well, the animal will share that other child feels like there's favoritism, right? And so I give examples on, well, maybe you could like have more time with this other child separately versus having the like family time all together, because there's more nurturing that needs to happen with this other child who's feeling more neglected.
That's really interesting. The humans come into play into this work. What kind of things do they come to you seeking, and how do past lives in your field get involved in this whole healing practice?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I could give you a personal experience from my own experience. I actually, doing my discovery of really going through my healing journey, and just wanting to understand more about what my past lives was, I started to do past life regression on myself, which I don't advise to do past life regression on yourself, just because if you're not trained in it and something shows up, then you need to have someone who can coach you back through it. That's why Monique is amazing at what she does. So if anybody's listening and you want to do past life regression, please work with her because she's amazing. I did, before I met you, I did these a few years ago, and what showed up for me was, I'll give you two past life examples. One was I was a young Caucasian male living in the Midwest, back I want to say the early, maybe 1900s, and we had a farm, and I had two parents and a sibling, a sister, and we, would work the farm. Me and my sister, we would work the farm, and a disease, famine came through and killed all of my family and my neighbors, and I was left by myself. So that was that past life. And so I wanted to ask that, little boy, that version of me, what, I have, in this life, I was having problems with abandonment, right? And so I had to heal that little boy version, that version of me that felt abandoned because all of my family had died, right? So that's an example of like themes that show up. People will, come to me for readings and wanting to understand different themes and why are certain things happening or not happening for them. And so we ask the past lives to show up and to give the message on what is it that that person needs to heal from, right? So that's one example. And so I started to do a lot of inner child healing work on myself to also understand that, to love myself and to know that I'm always loved and protected and taken care of, and I don't have to worry about abandonment in this lifetime. And I grew from that. So don't worry about abandonment in this life. So that was a revelation for me to know that I can heal those past lives and the traumas that they experienced. And so because of my own individual experience, I am able to help my clients, and they will come to me and ask me similar questions about their past lives.
And those patterns, they really become apparent, don't they? It's like, oh, well, and it gives you that motivation that, okay, well, I better clean this stuff now, or else this is like, I don't want to spend more lifetime.
Yes, I don't want to keep going through these themes. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Especially when you look back and you're like, oh my goodness, like how many lifetimes have I spent learning this? Like I'm ready. I'm ready to, let go of this and finally heal it for good, right? So it's not only affecting your past, but it's your future as too, and all your potential future incarnations that you don't have to bring all of this stuff to you. An interesting point too, you're talking about going into regressions and how it can be, I don't know, we romanticize it. I find that lives, and I know I certainly did, like, oh, this is so exciting. It's like watching a movie, right? And you don't realize like how you can get really deep into stuff, and that if you start bringing that through and don't have tools to actually release it from the physical body, that you can cause more harm than good. So when people just kind of dabble in it and it's fun, and I mean, yeah, sure, we can bring in positive past lives too, which have just as huge of an impact on people and their lives. I feel like it's not all about digging up the stuff, but bringing in that influential positive energies um, from these different parts of you too. But yeah, you can really get stuck into things and start, digging your fingers into stuff and bringing that through and not closing it off properly. And all of a sudden it's like, whoosh, now that's flooding in and you embodying that past life person as well. So yeah, it can be very, very tricky. So I'm glad that you touched on that, because it's not all fun and games and like romance, ooh, like a movie, right? It's really hard work to go into those things and to feel those, discuss talking to this little boy version of yourself. It's really deep work that you have to pull through. And I always think that my clients are the bravest people for going into that.
Yeah, wanting to do the work, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's not easy, but it sure is freeing once you're able to break the patterns.
Yeah, and breaking those patterns and those themes, and then when you're able to do that, you can heal not just yourself, but generations, right? Like your ancestral traumas that your family have gone through, like lineages, right? We're all, we're all connected. But there's different themes in different families. And once you're healing those themes inside of you, you also heal your ancestors, and you also heal the traumas that are within your lineage. It's like once they say, like at home, like if mom's not happy, then nobody's happy. So when mom's happy, everybody's happy. So once you're healing like your own personal stuff, you also heal your generations, your children and their children, and then you also heal the past generations of the people that have come before you.
Yes, it's really such a profound impact if you even kind of like visualize it as a wave that goes off and like a domino effect to that whole line and the whole future line as well, that it's pretty profound that we're even able to do that as a soul in a human body. Like what an amazing ability we have. And we, you know, so many of us don't even realize that we have that capacity to do that kind of work.
Yeah, because we're all energy, right? Like we're all energy and vibration, and we send out resonance of that from our physical body to others. It's like when you can walk in a room and you feel like somebody's upset or sad or happy or joyful, whatever that emotion is, that's that resonance that you feel that comes off of those human beings because it's energy, is frequency. That's what you're feeling.
That must be rewarding for you to be in that space and to be able to help to facilitate that and have done the work yourself. It gives you a different perspective of you know what you're asking of people when you've gone in and you've done it yourself first, and you're not bringing those patterns and false beliefs and all of these other projections onto the people that you're working with. I'm curious, Darnell, is there anything else that you feel you wanted to touch on? Are there any more stories you wanted to share?
Yeah, this has been absolutely amazing. I know, for some people, with connecting with your animals, I think sometimes we think it's harder than it really has to be. And so I want to leave a really easy tip, for people who want to have what I would say more commutative relationships with their animals. Um, so if you think about like closing your eyes and visualizing something that brings you joy, right? So like if you like the beach, like closing your eyes and visualizing yourself at the beach. If you like going to the mountains, or if you like going to the lake, or whatever that thing is for you, like actually seeing yourself there, and taking note of all the things that you see while you're there, and then bringing in your other senses. So, like, what does it smell like? What does it feel like? Are you feeling the rays of the sun on your face? Or are you feeling the water under your feet? So, really tapping into starting to feel, hear, taste, smell, all the things. And while you have your eyes closed. And so, when you connect with your animals, as an example, if our animal, either in nature or your pet parent, start to bring those senses and allowing the flow of that information come to you, whether you're hearing it or whether you're seeing it in like your mind's eye, meaning in your mind's eye is like a movie. And so when you sit down and connect with your animals, start to envision that you're clearing out the your third eye, the area between both of your eyebrows, clearing out that area with white light. It's for you and also for your animal. So envision clearing out that, like a spinning ball, clearing out that energy. And then once you feel like that energy is clear for you and clear for your animal, it's like white, clear, then envision like a divine line, like a direct line between your third eye and your animal's third eye. And then just ask your animal a simple question like, are you happy? Do you like your food? What's your favorite toy? And then just take a note of what message comes through, whether you're seeing it, whether you hear it, or whether you smell it. Whatever that sense that comes through, and then start to just keep continuing to practice with your animal in that way, or even with nature in that way. And then that's when you'll start to feel more comfortable around being able to communicate with your animal and just start having a conversation with your animal. And with nature, and that information will start to flow naturally for you.
That's great advice. Just opening up that line as a starting point to let that flow of that communication come through.
Yes. Because they're always talking to us. We just haven't tuned into their channel, right? Like they have a channel, we have a channel. It's just a matter of just making slight adjustments to be able to hear what they have to say.
Thank you, Darnelle. Thank you for sharing that with everybody and for being here and sharing this space and this conversation with me today.
Yeah, this has been amazing. I'm so grateful. Thank you to you, Monique. Thank you to your audience. And again, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. It was great to have you here. And if anyone wants to get in touch with Darnelle, either for themselves or as a pet parent, I'm going to leave all her contact info in the show notes. So you can just click those links there and get in touch with her. It was great chatting with you, Darnelle, and we will see everyone soon. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Past Life Project. For more information how I can help you to access the wisdom of your subconscious mind to support deep healing and transformation, visit my website at moniqueglover.com. If you loved what you just listened to, please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Until next time.